everybody, it's Jill here. Welcome to a Makeup Monday here on my channel, and as the opener and the title states, this is Contouring 101, especially geared toward mature skin and for those of us who have very fair skin as well, because boy, it can be tricky. I think subtle is the key word here, and it should be across the board no matter your age, in my opinion, when it comes to contouring and highlighting for the best natural effect. So what exactly is contouring? I know you probably know what contouring is, but for those of you who may not have a clue, contouring is something that you're going to put over features that you want to disappear. You want it to recede, and that's where the matte darker colors and their placement, that's what it happens. That's what they do. They actually make the light disappear inside them, so those places will recede and kind of disappear. And highlighting is the exact opposite. Highlighting is bringing attention to those features. The light's going to bounce off of it, and that feature is going to come at you. So upper cheekbones, to give the illusion you might have a little more volume to your cheeks than you actually do. That's the most common place to put highlighters. But you can put a little highlighter on the tip of your nose and kind of bring that to the forefront. Maybe just wherever you really want that attention to go. So I have my foundation on, I have my concealer on, and I have not set my foundation. So I haven't done it because I wanted to talk to you about whether or not you should do this before or after you contour. It all depends on if you're using creamy contours or powdery contours and highlighters. Highlighters can come both ways as well, creamy or powdery. So both of them that I'm going to be using today are going to be powdery, so I'm actually going to set my face first with a light translucent powder, because that way it will blend better and it's just easier to work with. So I'm going to be doing that right now. I'm using my Kat Von D translucent powder, the Locket. It's just a matte, colorless powder, very finely milled. So I am going to tap that all over. I'm not going to set under my eyes right now because I don't need to. I actually used a powder concealer. It's the Well Rested by Bare Minerals. So I don't need to set under there because it's basically a powder. Now, because I am very, very fair, I have found it almost nearly impossible to find a traditional contour color that works for me. So I use eyeshadows. I look for something more on a cool side, because more ashy tones, I should say, because what happens with my skin is if I go too warm, it ends up either going very orange on me and gets orangier as the day goes on as it oxidizes, or if I get something too dark or too brown, sometimes if I even go a little too ashy, I look just dirty and it looks so obvious that I have contoured. And so it is really a tricky thing. Us really fair gals, we have a hard time with this. However, I found an eyeshadow that works really well. The key here is making sure that it's very matte. You don't want any little shine or luminescent piece to your contouring at all. We don't want the light playing with this, no matter how dark it is, at all. So look for something very matte if you're also having a little bit of a hard time finding a contour color that you like or that works for you. So the one that I use is Taupe Notch. That's the color, and this is an eyeshadow by Makeup Geek. It's a light taupey color, but plenty dark for me. So I got this off of Amazon. It came in a huge set. I honestly hardly ever use any of them except for I pulled this one because it's just the right size for me to do a little bit of contouring. So I like it because, again, it's very dense, it's easy to blend the product, and it's also very, very precise in where I want to put it. So when it comes to doing my cheeks only, I use this. But when I want to contour, say, the forehead or down into the jaw area, I'll grab a basic kind of blush brush, like this one here. This covers a little more area, but I could still be a little precise with this and control where I want it to go. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of rock this right into the pan and just lightly tap it off. I'm also going to tap it off down here on my little napkin that I have in front of me. So how do we find the cheek hollows? That's where we're going to start today. We all have different face shapes. We all are not the same when it comes to our shapes and our bone structure. But this little method is pretty tried and true, and it will work for everyone. And that is, when you're trying to find your cheek hollows, if you look straight on into the mirror, generally they'll kind of pop at you. The light will disappear in there, and it'll give you a real good guide on where to put your contour. But sometimes that doesn't happen. So if that's the case, I find that if you find that little nub right here on your ear, and I'm sure there's a scientific term for that, I just am not quite sure what it is, and I didn't bother to Google it, but this little nub here is your guide to finding where you should put your contour. So I like to go up to the very top of that nub and then do a straight line right to that cheek hollow. That is what we're going to do. We are going to find that little nub. I have this loaded, and I'm going to take that right on top, and I'm going to bring that right underneath my cheekbone there, right here. So I have this straight line, and it's tucked right in there. And now I'm going to just brush this, and this is why I love how dense this is, or if you have anything that's dense like this, this will really work. And then you're gonna not blend down. We are gonna soften that line a little bit, but not yet. And we're gonna brush this right back into the ear. We don't want a stop and start line here. I think that just looks really unnatural. So how far forward should you go? I think you should stop, just as a guide, right underneath your cheek hollow. But some of us really kind of like to accentuate kind of the front apples of the cheeks a little bit and kind of scoop underneath them a little. And if you like to do that, then you're just going to kind of whisk that up just a little bit. Kind of a very, very gentle kind of check, just very gentle. And then again, we're just going to blend that up. Okay, so I know it looks really a lot, but first of all, I'm doing it a little darker so you guys can see. But second of all, if it looks like this on you and you're like, what? We're going to blend that out. We're going to soften that a little bit. But for now, let's get this side. So we're at the very tippy top of that. We're going to take that and we're going to go right under. Oops, I need to load that up just a little bit more. So tippy top, straight line, go right underneath that cheek, and we're going to blend that up, bring it back into the ear there and the hairline, blending it up. Got a little too much on, just wipe it off. Then we're going to do that little subtle, little kind of check mark. And blend it up. Okay, now we're going to soften that up a little bit, and how you're going to do that is you're going to get a brush that again is more of like a powdery brush, but something pretty dense. Nothing that, say nothing like this. This is very bendy and foofy. We want something a little more dense like this. And then we're going to take that and we're going to just go back and forth. We're not going to go down with it. We're just going to go back and forth until we get a softer line there at the bottom. Wipe it off and go back and forth. Just at the bottom. Okay, So we are now done with contouring our cheek area. So let's go on now before we go to blush or anything. When I contour, I do that all first, and then I proceed with blush and bronzer or whatever it is that you want to do after that. So I'm going to take this brush here and I'm going to go again back in to the taupe notch. I'm just going to tap real lightly. Again, I want to do this so you guys can see it, but it is definitely more of a subtle thing. Okay, so now I'm going to hopefully do a little contouring through here. I can always tell when I don't do this. When I watch my videos, I look a little bit heavier in the face, and when I do some little contouring, I just look thinner, and I definitely can see the difference. So what we're going to do here is follow the natural cheekbone, but the key is that you are definitely going to take it over the top just ever so slightly as well, especially if you're starting to get some jowls right here. Okay, if we followed the jawline, we would probably kind of tuck it under. We want to take that line and bring it right over the top of the jowl, and ever so gently. So we're going to take it right in here, and I'm bringing it over the top, and I'm taking it over the top of my chin. I'm not just tucking it under here, but I am just brushing it over the top of my chin. Again, I'm starting at my earlobe and brushing some on my earlobe, and I'm tucking it over, I'm bringing it over, and I'm even going to bring some of this behind here because I don't want lines of demarcation. If my hair blows, I don't want all this makeup and stuff, you know. It's like, whoo, there's a difference. So again, and then I'm going to take this all the way down my neck. This is really not a lot of product. I'm really bouncing it off. I'm not doing a lot of product at all for this. So now I'm going to do the other side, tapping it off, loading it, and tapping it on my tissue down here. Again, I'm going to start here. I'm going to draw right on top of my earlobe and bring it right over the top of my cheekbone ever so slightly. I mean my jawline here, and over my jowls, and then again just nipping the top of my chin there and bringing this back and down, and then just feathering it out down in here. So again, I don't have any lines of demarcation, because what would happen if we only did this and called it good? I just don't think you could blend till the sun goes down, and I just think it would not, I don't know. This is just how I do it. Again, guys, there's no right or wrong way to any of this. I'm sharing with you how I do this. All right, now, many of you may have high foreheads, or maybe it's very wide and you want to correct that a little bit. Again, keep in mind what contouring does. If your forehead is very high, you'll want to take this ever so slightly at the very top. If you have a very wide forehead, you're going to want to take it to the sides as well. If it's high and wide, you're going to do the sides and the top a little bit. Many women use their bronzers for this. I can't because bronzers have always been too orange. They oxidize orange, and then I just look funny. So if I want to contour my forehead at all, I will have to go in with something like this instead, a very ashy matte kind of light taupe eyeshadow. So for me, I do feel like I have a little bit of a tall forehead, and so what I do just to balance things out is I don't really go down in here because I like to highlight that area, but I am going to go slightly at the top of my forehead. I'm going to go in little circles here at the side and a top, and a little bit here at the side. And then if I really want to blend that in, I will take kind of a little blush brush, you know, powder brush or something and just skirt the edges. I'm not doing a whole lot of that right now, but I just wanted to show you what I do when I do it. Okay, so really, barring what else I like to do, which is my nose, that is what we're going to be doing so far. Now, I have to say that I could show you how I contour my nose with that taupe notch, but to be honest, I never do that. I always use an eyeshadow if I'm going to contour my nose, and it just blends in better. I feel like it all works together so much nicer for the all over finished look when I do that. So, but before I do that, let's finish our cheeks off. This is where you're going to pick the cheek color that you want to use. I'm going to go in with a Makeup Geek since I have it all right here in front of me. I'm going to use Puppy Love right here. This is a real nice neutral color. It's not too pink or anything. So I'm going to go in with Puppy Love. I'm going to load my floofy brush here, and I'm going to be putting this pretty much right above my contour. I'm going to put it right in the middle of where I'm going to put my highlighter, and then right here in my contour. So I'm just going to concentrate on the apples of my cheeks, and I'm just going to kind of bring it a little bit back in here. You will find that if you contour correctly, you won't need to use quite as much blush, and you know, ironically, it can actually give you a little bit more of a natural look. So that's why I think it would behoove you to really experiment and hone in your contouring and highlighting skills, because you can create a really natural, beautiful look, even for daytime. All right, so hardly any blush there, but enough to give me some color. Now I'm going to highlight. What I have been doing lately is not so much a highlighter, but more of a highlighting luminescent finish. And I've been using Pure Radiance by Bare Minerals. Absolutely love their finishers. So I'm just going to take this right at the very tippy top of my cheeks, even a little bit under my eye when it comes right in here, over my nose, and the center of my face, center of my forehead, down my nose, and right here at the at my cheek area. Sometimes I will finish my entire face with this and any of the radiances. I'll use it almost as a setter because I love them so much. So that is it. That's what we're going to be doing with our contouring and highlighting with the face. For the eyes, I'm going to take you through just until the point where I do my contouring. If you have watched any of my makeup tutorials, you have seen me do this many, many times, and I take you through it. But for the sake of this video being a contouring video, we're going to do that now. So I'm going to pick, I actually love this one here. So I'm going to use that, and I'm going to pat that on as my first wash color. Okay, so now it's the next color that I usually always use as my contour color, unless it just doesn't work as a contour. So maybe it's a mauve color, or, well, sometimes I will. It has to be matte and a tone that will work. They don't all work, but I think if I use this very subtly, this particular one will probably work pretty well. And it's this color right here. I'm going to use that as my transition color, and I'm also going to be using it down into the contour area of my nose that I like to contour. My nose is all right. It's just a little too broad for me, I think. It's kind of broad also right in through here, and it's just a little broad. I don't know. I like to contour it. I think it just looks prettier when I do, and I also like to kind of contour right in here because it again kind of gives me an all over better, more feminine look, I think. That's just my opinion. So I am going to hardly ever use this brush unless this next color is quite light, and this one is lighter than it looks, so I go ahead and use this brush for that. So I'm going to load it up and really tap it off. And I'm going to start applying this first color right here. And I use up the pigment first. I'm going to go to the other eye now and put it right where I like to put my little transition color here, which is sometimes, usually always, right here at the edge of my eyelid, my outer eyelid, and then where my natural crease is, and then even a little higher up, I like to do this color. It's my building color. It's the beginning of my look, this transition color. It's where I start, and then from this color is where I'll build depth into my look. I also like to make this color really soft. I like to blend out the edges so you don't really see too much of you know, beginning and end to this color. Okay, so now I am not going to reload, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring this up into the front of my eyebrow, right up to here to the front. There's no new pigment on this. And I'm going to take this now right to the side, right here. I'm going to carve out that area and I'm going to bring it I'm not going to bring this color anywhere in here. I like that to stay bright, but I am going to bring it here to the little bit to the side of my nose. And I'm now going to bring it to the rest of the side of my nose. I'm not very good at describing this today. And I'm going to glide this right down to the side, and I'm going to pop some under here, pop some under here, and bring it up to the other side. And then I'm going to blend this out really, really well. I do not want to see a line of any kind anywhere. I just want the color to do its magic. Okay, so that magic is going to come from being really well blended. I'm going to tap that a couple times into the pigment and tap it 3 or 4 times on my napkin down here. And I'm just going to apply a little tiny bit more right down in here. And then here on the side. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and finish out this eye look, and I'll be right back. So that is it today for this Makeup Monday, all about contouring, Contouring 101, the basics. I hope that you learned a little something and you enjoyed this. Tune in tomorrow because I'm going to be doing a Topper Tuesday on this gorgeous topper. So if you're interested in that, tune in tomorrow. Okay guys, see you real soon, and always stay on your heart. Bye-bye.